Hi, it's Tisha Powell with Red White Truth. So you like shows like this? Not a problem. We're on social media. We're not on Twitter. We're on Instagram. Our information just popped up. We're on Gab. Information just popped up as well. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. All the information for our social media is being popped up. And you know what? The old-fashioned way. What about just going to our webpage? insurancelawyertish.com. Yeah, I still practice law, but you know what? I'm excited and I just want to bring to you more of these shows. If you want to see more of these programs, reach out to us on social media. We are looking forward to hearing from you. All right? So get us on social media. We're not on Twitter. We're on YouTube, Facebook, and we're on all this. All the information pop up. Hi, welcome back to Talk Time. I'm your host, Tisha Powell. My producer told me we have exactly 12 minutes to go over the business news. I'm in New York, USA. I'm an attorney, author, and also I'm a researcher. And we are answering 3 questions today. Why is inflation so high in America? And also, why is poverty so high in America? Number 3, are we in a housing market crash in America? Because houses are very expensive here. So in order for us to respond to this, we had to do our own research. So we went to the Bible. And why did we go to the Bible? Because as a researcher, I found out there's nothing new under the sun. And most people like myself who are into the Bible and into research and into Wall Street and into economics know that the Bible answers most of the questions, because I've got news for you. There's 2 things that affect money, and that is God, which is nature, and government, which is man. So those are the 2 things. This is why people read the Bible. This is why people read about government every day. This is why news is so important, because government is responsible for the inflation. Government is responsible for the poverty, and government is also responsible for the housing market. So now you see why people tune in to read about probably the top 10 or top 15 governments in the world, because that affects our bottom line. Okay. Also, people read the Bible. Notice that economics read the Bible a lot. Why is it people from Wall Street read the Bible? Well, I'll explain to you. Number 1, the richest man on earth was founded in the Bible. $2.2 trillion. That was King Solomon. Okay, so I don't care who you are, you do not know more than King Solomon. He's the wisest man that walked this earth, because he had $2.2 trillion, and the Lord told him he would be, and Google said King Solomon was the richest man. So people read the Bible because the richest man on earth already walked earth, and so he's written about in the Bible. Everybody wants to know, what did he write? He wrote a lot about money. You want to learn money? Read the Bible. Okay, if you don't want to read it all, just read the book of Proverbs. Okay, you will learn a lot of what's going on here. Okay, number 2. So we talked about that. Number 2, what does the Bible say about money? You know, Dave Ramsey, he's a financial guru. He's always quoting the Bible. In America, a lot of Christians quote the Bible. A lot of financial advisors quote the Bible because it has a lot of wisdom. Jesus said the poor will always be with us. Jesus said the Matthew 25 effect. The rich shall be richer and the poor will be poorer. Okay? So that's inflation for you. Inflation is the Matthew 25 effect. There's nothing government can do to stop that. Jesus already predicted it would happen, and it's beginning to happen. Okay? So when AOC and Sanders said that they're going to solve inequality, you and I know it's impossible, because the more the government try to solve inequality is the more inequality we get. All right? So that's just the law of physics. Number 2, what is creating poverty, you said? Well, we know poverty has been around since Jesus's time, and poverty is high in America And I'm telling you, I've been looking at it. I'm telling you, this bothers me a lot. This bothers me to see so many poor people. I mean, you go out to California, the amount of homeless people are there. It is ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Poverty is very high in America, okay? And America is the first or second richest country on earth. Okay, so whoa, why would and people ask me all over when I travel, how do I manage the poverty? And I'm telling you, you just have to pray. But Jesus mentioned that the poverty will be among us, and Jesus mentioned the Matthew 25 that the rich will be richer and the poor will be poorer. In America, we have the most wealth and we have the most poverty because Jesus predicted the Matthew 25 effect. Okay, Jesus predicted the extreme of life. Okay, and America has an extreme life where we have the most millionaires living in America and we have the most poverty living, people that are poor living in America. We have a lot of talented people in America and we have a lot of drug addicts in America. So America is a land of extreme, and Matthew 25 described this country plain to us. Now we see what Jesus was talking about. So now we explain the inflation. We explain why poverty is so high in America, and I'm going to explain, are we in a housing market crash? So Elon Musk said that we're in a housing market crash, and Reddit CEO said we're not in a housing market crash. So are we in a housing market crash? And I'm saying, no, we're not. I authored the book, The Homeowner's Guide to Surviving Foreclosure. I read the Bible before I looked at this. I'm not giving any prediction. But what I am looking at is past experience. And also too, Elon Musk said that he's not a real estate expert. So just understand that when he made that statement, he also said he's not an expert in real estate. So I would like for people to look at what the Bible says. There's nothing new under the sun. So if you want to know if you're in a housing market crash, check the book of Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy also talk about interest rates, and it talks about usury interest rate. Natural law, natural consequence. God is in control of the earth. The Bible said that, and it's the truth. God created only two sexes, male and female. The Bible talks a lot about money. The Bible talks about government. Read it, read it, read it. So in 2008, the real estate market crashed in most parts of America, not all, because government shut down banks. Okay, that's what happened. Government recognized that banks were lending 100% and the loans were not sustainable. So the government, either the market crashed and the government decided they weren't going to bail everybody. So, market crashed. So that's what happened. And what you think happened when the market crashed? All that was absorbed. Who absorbed that? We all did. The housing market absorbed that. So when the market crashed in 2008, some homes were at 423 in 2008. That was the price of the home. The government pulled out, so there was no more money to borrow. So in 2016, that property went to 258. But guess what, people? The banks weren't lending money because the government was regulating the money. So you needed 20% to put down. The Matthew 25 effect happened as well when the government shut the market down in 2008. Because in 2008, that house for 423, anybody could buy 100% financing. So poor people were buying it. But then the government recognized that too many people buying and it was too risky. So the government shut down the banks and all those people lost their homes. Most of them went homeless and they went poor. So that's how people become poor. The government shuts down the market and people lose stuff. So in 2016, though, the market you could buy, but you needed 20%. Most people didn't. So mostly wealthy people bought. And then in 2020, the housing market, the interest rate went to 2 to 3%, but the housing market was 10% or 20% down because the market learned, traditionally now, the housing market, people learn that you should put 10, 20% down. So the banks got smart in the residential area. So that's why I know it's not a housing bubble, because what happened in 2008, the standards of loans in 2008 was not repeated in 2020, okay? They did the Matthew 25 effect. So they had people to 10, 20% down. However, the commercial real estate, they did interest only with those loans, and those are at the mercy of the federal government. And the federal government is on an uptick because of the inflation. So pray for those who have commercial real estate. They are going to lose a lot. These are human beings that own the commercial real estate. More than likely, they're going to be going belly up and they're going to be going poor as well. Because if you lose assets, you get poor. So now you see why there's so much poverty in America. It's a place where people want to be rich real fast. And unfortunately, you have to use money, borrowed money to get asset, which is education and housing and cars. And unfortunately, when the government gets involved and they shut banks down, eventually, people get poorer. Okay, so we see that interest rate is going up, so we know commercial real estate is crashing. We also know that couple residential property areas are crashing. Texas is crashing, and so is California. California is crashing for a few reasons. Again, government is telling us about climate change. They're telling us that climate change is real, and the insurance companies believed it, and they left. So government, AOC, Biden are telling people climate change is real. People read the Bible, climate change isn't real. It's another government bureaucracy, okay? Climate change isn't real. The Bible tells you how the world is going to end. However, because of that, now Allstate, two major insurance left, and that also crashed the housing market. So what you think happened when the housing market crashed? People get poor and people become homeless. So this is what's happening. Government interference, they're crashing markets because government just love to interfere. I mean, why not, So the housing market, all of it isn't going to crash in the United States. In 2008, all of it didn't crash. So it's not going to all of it crash. So there is no national housing crash because not everybody owns a loan, and some banks loan better than others. So it depends. If you're in a housing market, it depends on three things, okay? Number one, what part of the country you're in or what part of the world you're in. Number two, do you have a government loan? If you have a government loan, is it fixed or adjusted? That makes a big difference because government interest rate is on its way up, and that means that you are at the mercy of the government. And number three, and not everybody got that adjustable rate. Some people did get good rates, so they're not at the mercy. And number three is, what type of property did you purchase? If you purchase commercial property, you're probably going to be losing some money because most people are now working remotely. So as you could tell, in 2008, there was a housing supply problem. There was a shortage. There was too many houses and not enough loans. So the market had to crash. In 2020, there was houses and loans. So the market didn't crash, but now we have the commercial property. There's too much commercial property again. Too much commercial property. So that's going to be a problem. In order for market to crash, you need to have supply demand issue. The housing market has a shortage because people are working remotely and digital assets are now in. So that tells us that the housing market is not in a bubble, but it really depends on the property you purchased and whether you are at the mercy of the government. So people, I tell you, nothing the government gives to us is free. That's why you have to rely upon yourself. I tell people we cannot rely upon the government because government, they're just people. I rely upon God, and I'm telling people, put your faith and trust in God. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tisha Powell, and I hope I explained to you the inflation, the poverty, and the housing market in the United States. And like I explained to people, it has everything to do with government and nothing to do with the people. America is a workaholic culture. And sadly, those who not working 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, they're just, it's just, that's what it is. It's a workaholic culture. So, and 4,800 banks, that's wonderful. That's extreme. And obviously, how do you regulate 4,800 banks? The government has to shut some down. And sadly, when they shut it down, we feel the poverty and we feel the inflation. So may the Lord have mercy upon us and do not judge those who are homeless or poor, because it's not their problems. And Jesus told us that the poor will always be with us. And one more thing, and I'll let you go. When Jesus was on earth, Jesus also was feeding the poor. But as you know, that Judas had the bag of money and he was stealing from the poor. And what I'm trying to tell you is that people tend to often pretend or that they want to help the poor when they're stealing from the poor. And we saw that with Jesus. I mean, here's Judas holding a bag of money. And what was Judas doing? Helping himself. Who is the Judas today? Government. That's the Judas today. They're saying they're going to help the poor. And we know that they've thrown millions, billions of dollars towards homelessness, and it didn't help. It made it worse, because a lot of people that are homeless are also addicted to drugs. And why are so many people addicted to drugs in America? Because obviously alcohol is the number one drugs. And number two, the pharmaceutical companies are very powerful, and people get hooked to drugs and they're not able to come off. So that's the problem with wealthy culture, that people tend to live very secular, pleasurable life. And that leads to a lot of drug addiction, because they choose not to follow God. If you go to church, you have to stay sober, so that's one of the reasons as well. We're in a very secular country, and the more secular is, the more pleasure we have, and the more pleasures, the more poverty we're going to face. So I'm Tisha Paul. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope all this makes sense to you. Just read the Bible, you'll see for yourself. Just read the book of Proverbs. It will give you a lot of wisdom. And yes, King Solomon was the most wealthy person that walked this earth with $2.2 trillion. So we've already had a trillionaire. It was King Solomon, and he's talked about in the Bible. Thanks for watching. Have a lovely day.